people, are you ready to get real about your health? Join us at 7 p.m. every Wednesday for Chat4Health on Women Radio as we bring you straight talk on the things that matter. No lectures, no judgments, just real and honest conversations about your sexual and reproductive health to help you make choices that keep you safe and empowered, from preventing unwanted pregnancies to protecting yourself from HIV and STIs and overcoming stigma. Chat4Health has got you covered. Chat4Health, where your questions meet the answers you deserve. Chat4Health, 7 p.m. every Wednesday on Women Radio 91.7. It's brought to you by Age Network in partnership with PEPFAR Nigeria, Gilead Science, and AWDF.
All right, 5 minutes past 7 from Women Radio 91.7, Nigeria's first and only radio station for women and their family. How are you doing today? Being Wednesday, the 8th in the month of January 2025. And just because you're hearing my voice for the very first time in this new year, I think it is safe for me to say Happy New Year to you. Thank you very, very much for being on that other side, tuned into this dial. We really love you. We say thank you. And yes, this is where I get to welcome you to Chat4Health on Women Radio 91.7, Nigeria's only radio station for women and their families. If you're joining us for the very first time, this is where you should be actually. Chat4Health is a program where we get to talk about everything you need to know as regards your sexual and reproductive health. And we do this to help you stay safe and empowered. Chat4Health is a program that is proudly sponsored by Age Network in partnership with PEPFAR Nigeria, Gilead Science, and AWDF. My name is Blessing Agbeto, and as always, I'll be your host for today. Today on Chat4Health, we will be looking at something different from what we have been talking about for weeks now. So yes, on the show, we're talking about endometriosis, mental health strain, intimacy, and sexual health among young people. And of course, our guest for today is Ogbu Chibuikem, God's gift, a dynamic young medic with a passion for transforming lives through healthcare innovation. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today, God's gift. How are you doing today?
Hi, Blessing. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right.
Thank you very much for having me, and Happy New Year to you.
Yes, Happy New Year to you. All right, God's gift. I would like us to start the conversation this way. I think the first thing I would like to ask you is this, because a normal person will be asking, let me not say a normal person, an average person will be asking, you people have come again on Chat4Health, which one is endometriosis? So I would like you to start the conversation by enlightening us on what we need to know about endometriosis.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Basically, endometriosis is a medical term, actually. It's not something big, it's just a medical term. It's a situation of, simply put, maybe a disorder or a disease whereby, normally the uterus of the female reproductive system is situated in the pelvis, that's the pelvis of the woman. And then there's something called the uterine tissue. That's the tissue of the tissue per se that makes up the uterus. And during a menstrual cycle, normally what you see is that the outermost part of this tissue, that's the endometrium, is being shed off. And that's what comes out as the menses, or the blood that women get to see every month. You understand? But in endometriosis, what happens is that those tissue are found in other sites other than the uterine wall. You understand? So people with endometriosis have uterine tissue, that's endometrial tissue, in other sites other than uterine wall. And this can be maybe in the fallopian tube, it can be in the bladder. It can even be as far up as even in the diaphragm and even in the lungs. There have been recorded cases of endometrial tissue in the lungs and even in the brain, although these cases are rare. But what basically happens in endometriosis is that people, young people or women with endometriosis, get to have this endometrial tissue that is supposed to be primarily situated in the uterine wall. They are being found in other sites. You understand? So that's basically what endometriosis is all about. And then it comes with certain symptoms and signs, which will maybe by the time you ask more questions, we'll talk about them. But just to put it clear and make it simple, that is what endometriosis is about.
All right. Thank you very much, God's Gift, for that explanation. We do appreciate you. Now, you mentioned something about the signs and symptoms of endometriosis. Do you want to enlighten us on that?
Yeah, there's signs and symptoms, although most times these signs and symptoms are subtle. The subtle signs and symptoms that people may not really be able to pick until maybe they come down, maybe in the gynae emergency in the hospital. That's when they will now probably do tests and then discover this person is having endometriosis. So these signs and symptoms, you see some ladies maybe having pain, menstrual pain that is like beyond the normal. So they come down with serious mental pain, a psychic pain that is beyond the normal. That's one of the major signs. Another sign that is also common is abnormal menstrual bleeding. When the menstrual bleeding is more than normal, you understand? So that's another sign. You get abnormal menstrual bleeding when it's more than normal. And then also, there's the problem of infertility that happens with endometriosis. That's another sign or symptom that the person may experience, especially for young people that may be young couple, and then you realize that this lady she'll complain, she's having excessive bleeding. Not to say endometriosis is the only cause of excessive bleeding, but when the signs and symptoms are correlating, excessive bleeding, the person is also the menstrual pain is beyond normal, and then the person is having infertility issue. Then you now start saying, okay, this person may we start looking into things like endometriosis as one of the causes of one of the from the signs and symptoms. That's how looking at endometriosis is probably the likely or one of the probable diagnosis. So these are like the major signs and symptoms that come with endometriosis. And then there are other things that we also talk about, like the mental health challenge. In a larger scale, they may have things like anxiety issues. They may also have things like depression that may come as a result of this series of challenges that they experience from the signs and symptoms.
All right. Thank you very, very much for your thoughts on that one. You can call us on 07000 917 917 or 800 1235 917 or 915 591 917 That is how you can be a part of the conversation. You can also send us a WhatsApp message on 0703 175 6537. If you have any question or if you want to be a part of the conversation, that is how you can be a part of the conversation for today. All right. Thank you very much for your explanation on the endometriosis and the symptoms. I particularly like how you made like an explanation earlier when you said it is not every time, even though it has been said that every bleeding could be associated with endometriosis, but that doesn't mean that every bleeding is endometriosis. So thank you very much for that explanation. Now, I would like to ask you, God's Gift, you've talked about the pains and all of that. So how do you think the physical challenges that comes with endometriosis affect a young person's mental health and emotional well-being?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I ended by from the last, I was talking about the signs and symptoms. I ended by talking about some of the mental health or mental health challenges that they could face. It starts from anxiety, progressing to them having depressive symptoms. So for the anxiety, as a young lady, maybe 16, 17, 18, she noticed that, okay, maybe she's in a boarding house from secondary school, maybe in a boarding house or even in as a day secondary school student, realize that, okay, amongst your peers, your friends, you seem to have a like as if God caused you by giving you periods. Some of them may have used this kind of term that God caused them by giving them period because they experience it on a whole different level. They experience it maybe the pain on a whole different level, the lower back pain, even the lower abdominal pain, and then the cramps. As I said, the bleeding is heavier than normal. Yes, so they experience it on a whole different level. So in terms of that, most of them will dread the next monthly period. They already have anxiety from the next monthly period. They don't want the period to come because once it comes, as a young lady, they shut down. or maybe even beyond being a secondary school, maybe as a university student, means that for that 3 to 5 days or 3 to 7 days rather, that you're going to experience, have your monthly flow, you won't be able to do anything because it's either you end up in the school clinic or you end up in the hospital because of the kind of pain. And then people may even make certain kind of jests. I hear people telling other ladies that it looks like you're the woman with the issue of blood. You understand? Certain things like that because they experience the period on a whole different level. So that can also lead to anxiety because you see your peers, they all have the same period like you do, but they don't experience the same thing you experience. And then by the time you start talking about it, maybe you try to share or talk to the next person, you'll be like, oh, you should brace up. I've had certain instances where ladies will say their fellow ladies are not being considerate about their period because they'll be like, oh, everybody experiences period. Why are you the person complaining that, oh, I'm feeling the pain more than normal? Or maybe if probably they work and then for that period, that time, that's 3 to 7 days of the period, they are not able to maybe maximize productivity at work. Maybe they say, oh, they can't come to work because of the pain they're going through, or maybe they can't, what's it called? Maybe submit tasks or keep deadline at that particular point. People tend to make them feel like they are not enough or they are not productive enough. But it's not something that they can deal with. It's not like they're trying to exaggerate the pain. Some people say some people exaggerate their menstrual pain. No. For certain cases of endometriosis, they are not exaggerating the pain. They are not over exaggerating it. They actually feeling the pain as bad as it gets. Then even the excessive bleeding can also be embarrassing. That can also lead to some level of anxiety. And then moving further, I also mentioned infertility as another cause of another symptoms or problems associated with endometriosis. Maybe as a young couple, maybe the lady just got married, and then maybe after 2 to 3 years, she's expecting a child. She has not been able to conceive because endometriosis, if it is lying around the fallopian tube, it can lead to tuber blockage and then result in infertility. And then the nature of endometriosis is such that there's inflammation, and when there's continuous or excessive inflammation, it will not allow the spermatozoa, the spermatozoa and the egg has to meet up for fertilization to occur, and then for the embryo to be implanted. So without continuous inflammation, there will not be implantation of the embryo. You understand? Then that can also lead to infertility, and then infertility is one of the leading causes of anxiety amongst women, and also can also progress. When these things accumulate, and then the lady is sad, she's not able to meet up with her productivity at work, at home. Maybe the family, extended family, and in-laws are already putting pressure about not being able to conceive. She starts feeling like, oh, she came to this world to suffer. Everything is going against her, and all those things may accumulate and then lead to maybe her having depressive symptoms, inability to sleep, inability to engage in things that she was formerly able to do happily, and then all these things may just end up taking a serious mental toll on that particular person. So you can see how the chain of symptoms and signs progress to the mental health effect, and then eventual person is in that state where they are. Hope that answers the question. Does it answer your question?
Absolutely, it does. It does. Thank you very much, God's Gift, for your thoughts on that one. I do appreciate you. This is 18 minutes past 6 from Women Radio 91.7, Nigeria's first and only radio station for women and their families. And yes, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Chat4Health, where we talk about everything you need to know as regards your sexual and reproductive health. And we do this to ensure that we help you to stay safe and empowered. Today on the show, we're talking about endometriosis, and Ogbu Chibuikem, God's Gift, has been able to enlighten us on so many things, from the meaning of endometriosis to the signs and symptoms to what happens, particularly with the anxiety, the mental health, emotional well-being, how it is being affected. And I practically understand what he said, probably because I'm a woman. I know many a times when people talk about how, the period came with so many things. Maybe it came with mood swing, it came with pain, it came with backache, and different kind of pain in the body. Some people will look at you and say, oh, you're exaggerating. Are you the first woman to menstruate? Are you the only person that will menstruate on this earth, and all of that? And it looks like sometimes people around tend to dismiss how you feel when you tell them how you feel and all of that. So thank you once again, God's gift, for taking our time to expatiate on that one. 07000 or 800 1235 917. That is how you can be a part of the conversation for today.
My country people, Belle by Choice movements don't come again, oh. With our annual Belle by Choice campaign tagged 10,000 men give Belle by Choice, not by force challenge. We won't reach 10,000 men and young boys them in various communities with the right information on how they fit support women and girls' sexual and reproductive health, and they inform on modern contraception and family planning matter to end unwanted pregnancies. We won't make our papa, husbands, uncles, and brothers know say women and adolescent girls get right to their body and make them join hands to end rape, child marriage, sexual violence, and kasala wey they cause, such as girls' school dropout and unsafe abortion where they threaten women's lives. If men they involved and supporting sexual and reproductive health and rights matter, it could empower women and adolescent girls to make informed choices about their health and could make them carry Belle by Choice. The 10,000 men give Belle by Choice could start 1st of September to 30th December 2024 in Nigeria. If you be man, woman, young girl or boy, join our movement to build a future where choices are made. For more information and inquiries about the campaign program, contact Martina Ebre on 0704 806 5486. Together, let us build a safe environment for women and adolescent girls. Remember, Belle now by choice, not by force. Belle by Choice movement is brought to you by Age and other young women groups them with support from the African Women Development Fund.
Radio 91.7, Nigeria's first and only radio station for women and their families. Thank you very much for keeping it locked onto this dial. If you are just joining us, this is Chat4Health on Women Radio 91.7. Honestly, today has been very enlightening. With God's gift to taking our time to enlighten us on all of the things that we need to know about endometriosis. And I particularly love how he has decided to go deeply into the conversation. Now, I would like to ask you, God's gift. We've talked about endometriosis. We've talked about the depression, the anxiety that comes with it. We've talked about the signs and symptoms. Let's talk about how does endometriosis, how does it affect intimacy and relationship for young people? Hi, God's gift.
Yeah, sorry, I can hear you.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, the question was about intimacy and
yes, how it affects intimacy and relationships for young people.
Well, for young people, right? I believe the goal of relationship, should lead to maybe marriage, and with marriage comes with procreation and and one of the issues that surrounds endometriosis is problems with infertility, and I think I've talked about that.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier.
How it brings about. Yes, how it brings about infertility. So that can be a major problem. If the lady, for instance, maybe even before getting married, she has probably tried to have a child, or maybe she has been told that she was diagnosed with endometriosis even before trying to get married, and they trying to start having children. That alone might also want to make her not want to be too interested in marriage, so that she doesn't get into the dilemma of she's or get into a relationship leading to marriage, because she doesn't get into the dilemma of when she get married she's not sure if she's going to be able to conceive. That can affect relationship in that regard. Then in terms of intimacy, maybe, and especially when it comes to sexual intimacy, one of the issues with endometriosis is that people with endometriosis certain times feel pain when they engage in sexual activity. There's this kind of there's a pain that goes with it, especially if the endometrial tissue is lying around the vaginal wall. That can also be a problem for them. Like I said, endometriosis is when the uterine tissue is seated or situated in places where they are not supposed to be. So when that thing happens, there's always going to be inflammation, and with inflammation comes pain. And when somebody is having maybe engaging in sexual activity and they're feeling pain, that would make the person want to withdraw. That would make the person not want to maybe engage in sexual, in coitus or in sexual intercourse, and that can be a big problem when it comes to intimacy and also relationship. Relationship maybe with respect to the fact that she doesn't want to get married, or she doesn't want to even get involved with any man because she's scared that later she engages in sexual activity, she feels pain from penetration, or if she gets married, she's not going to be able to give birth. So all these things may, and then even with the anxiety and the depressive symptoms that go along with it, all these things may even play a role. And then aside the anatomical or physiological aspect of it, also the mental health aspect of it as well. Because for people with endometriosis, depending on how severe, the symptoms are, during the times of their menstrual cycle, their menstrual period, they appear to be more dependent because they will need somebody to really take care of them. They appear to be more dependent. They appear to be more needy. They appear to be less powerful because of the help that they will need. And those things may play a role in terms of maybe getting involved with somebody or getting involved in relationship, because it may be like, if the person that they are with at a particular point is not all that understanding, is not all that caring per se, the person may not be able to cater for them at that particular point, and that can be problems or bring problems in relationships. So all these things are things that can play. And then in terms of even the psychological aspect and the stigma, it's not that pronounced, but there could be stigma, especially in environments where people are not so enlightened. Because imagine if you maybe in a setting where maybe this particular lady has endometriosis, or is suffering from endometriosis, and then people don't really know what the exact cause is. But maybe her friends may gossip and say, don't get involved with this particular person because we don't even know if she's truly a woman. I mean, she cannot even bear the pain of menstruation. How much more bearing the pain of childbirth? Things like that words like that can start flying. And then those things can also bring about maybe anxiety, and then even maybe probably not give her a chance to have potential suitors as other people may have. So all these things can together play a role in terms of affecting intimacy and relationship when it comes to endometriosis.
All right. Thank you very, very much. I know you have so much to say. I would say that even I, as a woman, I have learned so much from this conversation, and I believe that a whole lot of people, including partners, have been able to pick one or two things from this conversation for today. However, it is time for us to call it a wrap on the show for today. So thank you very much. Just before I let you go, what will be your word of advice to men listening to this conversation? Because, women are the ones who go through all of this. So what should men do better, particularly when it comes to supporting their partners?
So, my advice to men is that they can start by getting knowledge. Because today's world is all about knowledge. You don't have to be a medical personnel or be a doctor before you learn about things. And then you also have to be patient. You get knowledge about this, at least know some things about women's health. Because if you're not going to be a wife, you're going to be a father. Or it can even be both. And then you have to when you learn these things, it helps you to become more patient, because you realize that, this person is not over-exaggerating her period, or she's not over-exaggerating how she feels about it. And then if you become patient, then you also work with your partner in terms of going to seek help. You go to seek help, what's it called, enroll into maybe a gynecological clinic. There are a lot of hospitals that have obstetric and gynecologic specialists. Go there, and then they will educate you more. And then, if need be, you get tested. You go those signs. What's it called? You engage in relevant investigation and get tested, and then you try to find the ways to help her, because she's the one going through it. She's the one going. If there are problems with fertility, she's also going through it. Or the both of you together as partners are going to be going through it. So, and then there are solutions. nowadays, there are a lot of solutions when it comes to
All right,
fertility
we
issues.
have
And
to go
until you
now.
go
Thank you. Thank
before
you
you
very,
get
very
help.
much. God
Thank you
gift.
very much.
I think the most important thing is men needs to get educated. You don't have to be a medical personnel, or you don't have to be a medical professional before you know basic things, particularly about how it works with your woman's body and all of that. Honestly, today has been quite insightful. Thank you very much, Ogbu Chibuikem, God's gift, for being a part of the conversation for today. We really do appreciate you. Do well to enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a great
All
evening.
right. All right, today you have it today on Chat4Health, as brought to you by Age Network in partnership with PEPFAR Nigeria, Gilead Science, and AWDF. Many thanks to our guest for today, Ogbu Chibuikem, God's gift, a dynamic young medic with a passion for transforming lives through healthcare innovation. Many thanks to him for enlightening us on all we need to know about endometriosis, mental health strain, intimacy, and sexual health among young people. I really do hope that you've been able to pick one or two things from today's conversation. So let's do this again next Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Women Radio 91.7. My name is Blessing Agbeton. Do have for yourself a wonderful evening. Bye for now.
We are Nigeria's only radio station for women and their families.